Good morning, everyone. We're going to give some time for folks to wrap up their current meetings and we'll commence shortly at the 3-minute mark. For now, you should be able to hear my voice and see my screen. All right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone joining us, not just here at home in Canada, but all across the world. Thank you for tuning into the Methane Reduction Demonstration Program information webinar. This is the second webinar in a 3-part series. My name is Myron Menezes, and I will be delivering today's session. A couple of housekeeping notes before we commence. Feel free to use the Teams Q&A feature at any time to submit your questions throughout today's delivery. Your microphones and cameras have been temporarily disabled, and we will re-enable them during the Q&A session towards the end. This meeting will be recorded, and the recording shared on our website for you to reference later on in the future. In the event we don't get to everyone's submitted and live questions today, and you still have any pending questions on the program or the application process, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at mrdp@ngif.ca, and we'd be happy to address your queries. Today's agenda is going to center around the Methane Reduction Demonstration Program. We're going to go through the program's design, its delivery, and how can proponents submit an application to be considered for funding. We're also going to give you a quick overview on NGIF and our collaboration with the Government of Alberta and ERA. If you're dialing in today to gather insights on any other initiative at NGIF's innovation platform, I would recommend you send us an email instead and be happy to address your queries. Helping me out today is Atul Bhatt, who is a partner and CEO at NGIF. Atul brings about 2 decades worth of experience spanning across oil and gas, innovation, and venture capital, and also sits on the executive team. Also helping me out today is Denis Philip, who leads our communication efforts and is helping us on the back end. Atul, over to you.
Thanks, Myron. So let me kind of first begin by acknowledging the support we have received from Government of Alberta through their TIER program. For those who don't know about the TIER program, it's Technology Innovation and Emissions Reduction Program that's run under the Government of Alberta. And for the methane program itself, the Alberta government is investing $29 million in two programs to help energy companies lower their methane emissions and develop new technologies needed to keep reducing emissions in the future. And the way it's been delivered is there are two programs. The first one is the Methane Reduction Demonstration Program, and that's delivered through NGIF Accelerator and its industry grants program. This particular program itself is gonna look at startups and SMEs to test and demonstrate methane monitoring and reduction technologies at the backyards of energy companies across Alberta and advance them towards commercialization. See my camera on off. Let me change my camera. I'm struggling with my camera. My apologies. The second program here is the Methane Reduction Deployment Program that's delivered through Emissions Reduction Alberta, and that's very much specific to Alberta oil and gas companies investing in deploying commercial-ready methane reduction technologies. Next slide. A quick kind of glance at Emissions Reduction Alberta. ERA is one of the trusted partners of NGIF, and we have been collaborating in various initiatives, including this one. They have been operating since 2009. Their operating model is to provide grants to novel first-in-kind technology demonstrations and energy efficiency initiatives. They host, they support a host of technologies to achieve broad environmental and competitive improvements, including decarbonization, water treatment, energy efficiency, soil remediation, and recycling. Next slide. The Methane Reduction Deployment Program itself is a $22.4 million program supported by Alberta government, which will help Alberta-based owners and operators of upstream and midstream oil and gas facilities deploy commercial technologies that reduce and detect and quantify methane emissions. Next slide. And if you want to learn more about this program, you can go and visit ERA's website, reach out to their application portal. There would be applicant guides there for you to help. And if you have any questions, then you can also reach out to them at methane@eralberta.ca. And I believe they also have an upcoming webinar on this stream. So keep an eye on that. Next slide. A little bit about NGIF. NGIF's mandate is to accelerate technologies to market, technologies that are able to reduce emissions for the natural gas sector in Canada. And we also support these technologies in early adoption through the industry members that we have. NGIF does this through a couple of ways. We have a for-profit corporation that runs our venture capital fund. It's a $50 million Clean Tech Ventures Fund 1. We invest in seed and Series A, and it's been up and running for the last 4 years. We have made about 14 investments so far, and there are a few last investments to be made under this fund. We also run our not-for-profit corporation, which is NGIF Accelerator, and we run two programs. The first one is the Industry Grants Program, and the second one is the NGIF Emissions Testing Center Program. Next slide. The Industry Grants Program is a not-for-profit industry-led initiative, primarily supporting technologies to accelerate innovation through funding for development and demonstration projects. It's been designed by and for the energy companies who are part of the NGIF Industry Grants Program. We look at cutting edge technologies from startups and SMEs that can reduce emissions and improve the environmental performance in their industrial operations. We bridge the gap between innovation and commercialization by turning potential opportunities into performance for the energy sector. And we have committed millions of dollars through industry for development and deployment of projects. And we partner closely with government agencies and private sector financing to accelerate innovation. Next slide. To date, we have approved 114 projects amounting to more than $30 million from industry, with a total project value of more than $350 million in eligible value. All this work resulted in 13 technologies in market today, 36 projects being moved to the next TRL levels. 37 patents have been developed through our active projects, and more than 490 clean tech jobs being supported through our active projects. On the right, you would see the industry grants members. We have 4 natural gas producers, which includes Birchcliff Energy, Canadian Natural, Arc Resources, and Tomlin Oil. And we have 6 natural gas distribution companies, ATCO and Apex Utilities in Alberta, FortisBC and Pacific Northern Gas in BC, Enbridge Gas in Ontario, and Sask Energy in Saskatchewan. Myron, with this, I will probably hand it back to you.
Thank you, Akhil. So a key goal of this initiative is to reduce the methane emissions, specifically in the province of Alberta. This program is specifically designed to aid that goal by accelerating and de-risking the commercialization of high-impact methane innovations through pilot testing, demonstrations, and various other value propositions. The Methane Reduction Demonstration Program is a $9 million initiative that spans across 3 years with 3 fixed intake cohorts. Each applicant is eligible to apply for 3/4 of $1 million in non-dilutive grant funding, or up to 75% of the project's eligible costs, whichever of the two is the lower amount. Specifically, we're aiming at methane mitigation and reduction technologies and methane measurement and quantification technologies that have the oil and gas market here in Canada as a target industry of service. In particular, we're looking at solutions that have been tailored to applications in upstream oil and gas or midstream and downstream natural gas industry. Circling back, given that demonstrations and first pilot testing is a huge theme in this program, we're going to focus on TRL 7 to 9 innovations, but we're also mindful that all product roadmaps aren't necessarily the same. In the event you have a technology that has an accelerated pathway towards commercialization, we will still be able to accept applications that fall in the TRL 6 range, but I would advocate that applicants communicate that during the expression of interests. I'll circle back on eligibility with a lot more granularity in a later slide, but to close loop on this overview, proponents or applicants can be based anywhere in the world and not necessarily in Alberta or in Canada. The only geographic clause is that the technology be demonstrated in the province of Alberta. More on that on a later slide. So why should you apply for this program, and what is the value prop for the MRDP? There are multiple to be named, and I'm going to go through a few. The first is probably the most obvious, that there's non-dilutive capital up for grabs. What makes this program a bit unique that it's pooled capital coming in from both the industry and from the government of Alberta. The second is access to industry demonstration sites. We've been doing this for a long time, and most of the applicants that we have engaged with tell us about how difficult it is to get in a room with oil and gas companies and get them to offer demonstration sites so applicants can test their innovations and de-risk the technology. NGIF takes care of that for you through this program. The third thing I want to talk about is probably what I think is the most important. That is the feedback you get during this program. The evaluators critiquing and evaluating your application belong to oil and gas companies that are potentially your future customers. Having that adopter centric feedback is so critical to your strategic rollouts. We've had applicants in the past that have fine tuned and refined their product roadmaps, and it's fared very well for them. The last thing I want to highlight is leveraging NGIF's network in the innovation ecosystem. We've helped make introductions and open doors to our trusted partners and other funding agencies here in Canada and in abroad, and we intend on continuing to do so for this program. With that being said, it should be no surprise that our programs are quite competitive. I would encourage all applicants to really take the time to craft good quality expression of interests, and we're here to help. In the event you want to meet up before the deadline of the expression of interest and brainstorm to your expression of interest together, kindly send us an email and we'd be happy to set up a call. Shown on screen are a list of solutions that we are interested in de-risking. I just want to reiterate that the solutions showed here merely serve as examples. As long as you have a methane mitigation and reduction innovation or a methane measurement and quantification emission, you are still eligible to apply for funding. In the event you question or doubt the validity or relevance of your technology for this program, do send us a quick email and we'd be happy to address your queries. I'd also encourage everyone to read through the intake guidelines and challenge statement document for more information on this front. With regards to our investment or application process, it is stage gated and comprises of 3 stages. At present, we're at stage 1 or the intake phase of the process and is predominantly centered around the expression of interests. Once the deadline for the expression of interest is over and we receive all the applications, NGIF does a very thorough review on everything that's received and ensures that we have all the information needed to make a sound decision. In the event there's still some white spaces, we will reach out to the applicants and ask them for more information if it's needed. Once that's done, we procure all the score sheets from our industry evaluators, put them in a room, and collectively make a decision on who we want to invite for deeper due diligence in stage 2. If you are one of the applicants that are shortlisted for stage 2, you'll be asked to submit a more detailed investment proposal. For comparison, the expression of interest is just 13 pages, while the investment proposal is 50. We'll also be conducting site visits where you get an opportunity to orally dictate the value proposition and the merits of your technology to the industry here in Canada. Once that's done, we follow a similar exercise of procuring evaluation score sheets and gathering the relevant stakeholders in one group to pass an evaluation on who we want to fund and receive the funding for. If you're one of the shortlisted recipients for the program, you will be passed on to stage 3, where we will sign a formal contribution agreement with you and kickstart the project. In terms of timelines, as mentioned before, the program runs for 3 years and has 3 fixed intake cohorts, each year for the program's active for. For cohort 1, expression of interest deadlines are towards the end of January, and depending on how the volume of applications received, we expect to announce a shortlisted list of recipients sometime in March. If you are one of the shortlisted recipients or applicants for this program, you'll be given a month to submit an investment proposal, and we'll kickstart the site visits shortly after. If everything goes according to plan, depending on the volume of applications, we expect to announce the results of cohort 1 sometime in the summer, hopefully by July. In terms of eligibility, what I like doing is categorizing it in 3 tiers. The first one are the applicant. We are open to receive applications from any technology innovators from all across the world, as long as you belong to a non-sanctioned UN country. Additionally, you have to be a small or medium-sized enterprise or a startup. Our definition of both is a small and medium enterprise is an organization that employs fewer than 500 people, whereas a startup is an organization that employs less than 100 employees and generates less than 25 million Canadian dollars in annual revenue. In terms of your project, every applicant has to allude to a project baseline whose scope entails advancing 2 TRLs of your methane emission reduction technology. One of the milestones or the deliverables in that project scope must consist a technology demonstration that takes place here in Canada, in the province of Alberta, and has to be in one of NGIF's industry grant member sites. With that being said, it is not a requirement for you to have a secure demonstration host. We will surface up those conversations at stage 2 if you get shortlisted for the evaluation stage. I would also encourage everyone to have conversations if you have those relationships built with our industry grant members to further strengthen your application. To close loop, each project in your application should have a timeline of maximum of 18 months. In terms of technology eligibility, we're open to a wide range of methane solutions as long as it's a methane mitigation and reduction technology or a methane measurement and quantification technology. We're focused on TRL 7 to 9 range, given that demonstrations are a huge theme in this program, but we'll also consider TRL 6 if an applicant can communicate an accelerated pathway towards commercialization. More information on this can be found on the intake guidelines document. A question we often get is, how do we evaluate applicants? And given that we are market-centric, we look at a whole bunch of different things. What I mean by market-centric is that we are industry-driven, as in we look at technologies that have a value prop for the industry at present and will still be relevant in the years to come. The first thing we look at is the relevance for the oil and gas industry. So we kind of want to see what is the value proposition to the end adopter. Are you capable of reducing GHG emissions, specifically methane emissions, given the theme of this program, as well as look at the economics of the technology? So metrics centered around CapEx or OpEx, if I may. The second thing we look at is how innovative your technology is. What's the scientific basis and what is the status of your intellectual property? How does your technology compare with incumbents presently available in the market? Have you evaluated the gaps needed to de-risk your technology, and what are they and how difficult are they to accelerate? The third thing we look at is the project plan. You want to be able to see clear and concise and well-crafted project baselines. We want to be able to see if the budget and the timelines mirror the scope that's needed to advance to TRLs. The last thing we sort of look at is the team itself. Do you have a demonstrated track record of execution? Do you have the right number of resources and the right quality of resources to execute the project scope? More information on this can also be found on the intake guidelines document. Another question we often get is centered around intellectual property and confidentiality. All IP remain vested with the applicant. All NGIF has is the rights to use the project results without limitations to technical data, reports, analysis, and discussion. In terms of confidentiality, we take that quite seriously. We are not going to disclose anything shared to us unless it's already public or explicitly asked by us. So how do you submit an application? Go over to the NGIF website and click on the page for the Methane Reduction Demonstration Program. There's an Apply Here button that will reroute you to the online application portal. Before that, I would once again encourage everyone to read through the application documents, which entails the intake guidelines document, the eligible cost document, the challenge statements, and the FAQs. Once you're in the application portal, if you have applied for funding through us before, kindly use your credentials already available. If not, you can create a new account by clicking the Register Here button. If you're new to the system, you'd be asked some pretty basic details on your organization and yourself. Once that's done, you're greeted by this landing page that has all our available programs that are currently open for intake. Click on the Funding Programs Open button to find all the programs currently available. Once clicked to apply for the Methane Reduction Demonstration Program, all you have to do is click on the Apply Now button and you'll be granted, and you'll be viewed by the intake application. Once in, there are 2 tabs to be filled out. The first one is pretty basic with some contact information, and the second one has a little more meat into it. In the event the interface lags, please click the Save Draft button and you should be able to populate the fields in. The main meat of the application is the expression of interest section. All you have to do is click on the hyperlink, download the template, populate it with the relevant fields, and upload the final draft onto this Dropbox. The expression of interest template looks sort of like this, and I would encourage everyone to strictly follow the guardrails already enlisted in the template. If you want to meet up with someone in the team and brainstorm it together, once again, don't hesitate to reach out and we'd be happy to set up a call. The UI template, which is the main meat of the application, basically has 5 sections and it's centered around your organization, the innovation of your technology, what value proposition you have, your overall project plan or the baseline, and the environmental benefits that your technology is capable of reducing. More information on this can also be found on the intake guidelines document. Before opening the floor to questions, I do want to maybe talk about if you have a project already approved by NGIF or any one of our trusted partners. If you have an approved project by any one of our trusted partners, as shown on screen here, in the last 9 months and you have a funding gap, kindly reach out to us. We will directly push you to stage 2 of our due diligence process. Similarly, if you have received NGIF funding in the last 9 months and you have a methane technology with an existing funding gap, do reach out to us to be considered for this funding round. In terms of next steps, do reach out to us if you need help or feedback crafting your expression of interest before the deadline. Emission Reduction Alberta has their deployment program webinar on the 29th of January for eligible contractors. I would encourage everyone to sign up and even spread the word about this initiative. More information on ERA's program can be found on our hyperlinks on our website or through their webpage. If you are at TRL 9 and you don't know what MRD program to apply to, whether it falls in NGIF's bucket or Emission Reduction Alberta's bucket, please reach out to us. We need to ask you a few questions and we can tackle that together. Our annual Industry Grants Innovation Challenge is now officially open for intake. So if you have a cool clean tech technology that doesn't necessarily dovetail well with the Methane Reduction Demonstration Program, you would still be eligible to apply for the latter program. Do check it out. More information on our website. Similarly, if you have a methane technology, you should also see if you can be applicable to NGIF's Emission Testing Center program. We offer free facilities for testing and de-risking your technology. As always, if you have any questions, do reach out to us at mrdp@ngif.ca and be happy to address you out. This is the second webinar on a 3-part series. The next one is on January 14th, and we'd be happy to see you there if you have the time to join. With that being said, I will open the floor to any questions. Feel free to use the chat box or the Q&A feature. Your microphones and cameras have also been enabled, pardon. If you want to dictate your question out, please use the raise hand feature and I'll call your name out. Okay. First question, Akhil. Are natural gas pyrolysis projects eligible? Methane pyrolysis prior to transportation could reduce methane emissions.
Myron, I responded to these questions, but I can repeat. So methane pyrolysis as a hydrogen production technology is not eligible under the MRDP program.
Okay.
And
there's a question.
We might have other opportunities for such areas, so keep an eye on that.
Question is, do you need a letter of support from an industry partner?
Not at this stage. We would need a letter of support in stage 2. If you are shortlisted in the EOI expression of interest stage, we will be inviting you, and at that point we will be asking for secured letter of support.
Okay. Is there a priority given for funding between two categories if the viable submissions exceed 9 million that's already available?
So there is an allocation guidance that's been provided in the applicant guide. And the guidance is that that up to 40% of the funding could go towards methane monitoring and quantification technologies, and minimum 60% of the funding needs to be directed towards the methane reduction technologies. So we would follow the similar framework if the funding exceeds the total $9 million.
Thank you, Akil. Can we have a partner with possible complementary technology?
Yes. Of course, we would need to learn a little bit more about what this complementary technology is and how does that project looks like. Ultimately, this funding would be directed towards de-risking an element of technology through pilot and demonstrations. As long as there is strong value proposition for you to partner and demonstrate that, all those technologies would be eligible.
Thank you, Akil. Next question by Juliet. If we re-inject biogas into the existing industrial boilers to reduce fossil natural gas consumption by 5 to 20%, does this methane reduction technology qualify for this application, and are we eligible?
So the short answer is this won't be qualified. We are specifically looking at technologies that can essentially eliminate the methane emissions from the natural gas operations. Having a fuel that could, let's say, replace methane is not eligible under this program. And again, I would say NGIF recently launched a different competition, so this might be something you can look at and might be eligible under the Global Gas Innovation Call that we just launched.
Thank you. Next question. I see someone raising their hand up. I think it's Juliet.
Yes, it's me. Thanks. What's the new program that you just launched? Is it the one that ends on February 17th, I think? Okay, perfect. And that would be okay for this application, you think?
Yeah, that would fit into one of the categories that's defined there. Renewable natural gas is one of the key priority there. So this might squarely fit into that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, more information on that can be found on our website, and then you can also share a link on the chat box if it's of interest. Next question. We are a startup and our partner is a non-NGIF producer. Would our demonstration project with them be eligible?
Potentially, yes, but this would be a deviation to our program itself. So we would advise you to highlight any non-NGIF member if they are the demonstration host for a particular project to be specifically stated in your application, and this will go through the committees that we have, and the decision would be taken accordingly.
Within your evaluation criteria, how are points weighted between GHG impact, innovation, and commercialization readiness? Is there anything specific you'd like to see from a continuous monitoring project to score strongly?
Myron, maybe you can give some guidance on the scoring element itself, and maybe that would be for you.
Yeah. For sure. So in the interest of time, I will be brief. Given that we're market driven, we are quite eclectic and we look at a bunch of different things across the board. So the weighted points follow an algorithm that is spread across things that we think are the most important. So things that I've already touched upon. So the relevance to oil and gas industry, how innovative your technology is, so on and so forth. We have a detailed guide on how we evaluated in the intake guidelines document. I think it is section 9, if I'm not mistaken, and I encourage you to check it out.
And then on the continuous monitoring itself, I think there are the challenge statement is very prescriptive. So maybe Myron, you want to speak on challenge statement and direct applicants to the challenge statement on some of the KPIs that's been highlighted there.
Yeah, so just to allude to what Akhil just said, we have a specific documentation that highlights all the targeted technologies we're interested in and what we are focused on de-risking. It is available on the website and on Smart Simple to check it out. It's a very brief, concise document and has a particular clause in continuous monitoring innovations. Next question. Would a methane venting mitigation technology for downstream and utility sector be a good match for this program?
Yeah, the short answer is yes. We are keen to look at those solutions.
Thank you. Does a landfill methane include this program?
The short answer is that won't be eligible. This is specifically for methane emissions from oil and gas operations.
Yeah, I would also encourage Perus to check out the broader competition that the link is shared on the chat box. If you have a landfill methane technology, it could be applicable to what we're looking for to de-risk in that funding call. Next question, do you plan future expansion or provisions/coverage to help de-risk TRL 2 to 4 technologies?
At this time, we don't have, let's say, a lot of visibility on what that could look like. For this particular program, we are very much focused on near commercial technologies, suitably within, let's say, TRL 7 to 9, technologies that are TRL 6 with an accelerated path to commercialization would also be eligible. I think there was one question on that also. So if you are at TRL 6 and there is a path for you to hit market in short order, then that would also be an eligible project.
Thank you, Akhil. This one has been answered. Can an EU-based startup be eligible to apply?
Yes, this is a global call, and we welcome any international startup and SME to apply to this particular competition. The key eligibility and the requirements would remain, which essentially is that this project needs to be demonstrated in Alberta. So those key requirements need to be consistent. And if you need any more support conversation on that, then please drop us an email and we can work with you on how to submit an application.
Thank you. Next question. Could you help funders to develop a new, more sophisticated gas modeling models? Could you also help us fund to develop a dashboard that is less tech and more customer centric?
Again, this particular funding is for technology de-risking. So anything that has an element of de-risking elements would be eligible. And as long as you have a solution that can be customer centric to begin with, but your models would still be replicated for other customers, would also be eligible. So maybe it's difficult to answer that without getting into specifics. So if you have any follow-up questions, I suggest drop us an email and we can set up time on the side to learn more and guide you appropriately.
Thank you. Can academic institutions complying with the TL range be eligible to apply?
We do want to see a startup applying to this particular competition, primarily because we want to see the technology to have commercial case in the short timeline. If you are an academic and you have a path for a spin out in the near future, I would encourage you to apply. And again, this is very specific. So if you want to maybe speak to us a little bit more, we strongly encourage you to drop us an email and we can set some time aside.
Thank you. Next question. What level of technical readiness and field preparedness is most important before entering a demonstration program like NGIF's?
Yeah, I think the requirements are pretty much spelled out. We do want to see technologies that are that have been de-risked and the proof of concept has been validated, and now it's ready to go into the field. So even if it's the first field, the pilot testing, it would be eligible. But you would need to demonstrate what all work has been done to reach to the point where you are right now in your technology development cycle, which means what kind of testing has been done in the simulated environment needs to be pretty much demonstrated, and then what are your kind of future path to hit commercialization look like? So those elements would be highlighted in your application.
Thank you, Akil. Next question. My startup has 2 technologies at the required TL range. Can one applicant have multiple EOIs for this funding call?
The short answer is yes. So if you have 2 different technologies and 2 different line of technology de-risking, then 2 applications would be okay.
Thank you, Akil. Can I apply for both currently open funding calls?
Yes, definitely. But those projects and technologies must be different. The Global Gas Innovation Call, which is the recent funding competition that's launched, does not have methane as one of the focus area. So if you have a methane technology which is relevant to the scope and is eligible under the program that's been highlighted today, then this program would be MRDP would be the right program to apply to. If there's another technology, it may not be methane, maybe something else, then that particular competition could be eligible. You might need to go through the details to understand what are some of the requirements there.
Thank you. Next question. How can eligible applicants communicate accelerated pathways to commercialization if they are at TRL 6?
I think this needs to be demonstrated through what is your commercialization journey between now and let's say hitting into the market, and what are those timelines. So if the timelines are and it depends on the technology itself, it depends on various factors, funding and partners and a lot more. MRDP program is unique because this is gonna accelerate your timeline to commercialization, because we would be offering up to 75% of the funding to the project, limiting to $750,000. But along with that, there is an industry demonstration host. So you would be paired with one of the industry members of NGIF to demonstrate your technology in a live environment. And these are some of the big, let's say, roadblocks when you are commercializing and de-risking your technology. So thinking about those elements would be helpful to demonstrate how you would be hitting the market faster. Ultimately, the objective of this particular call is to get more technologies, methane technologies, into the market in near term. So if you are fitting within those broader guardrails, then this would be a good call for you to apply to.
Yeah, well answered, Akhil. Next question. Oh, this is a long one. I think a similar question was asked before, but I'll still dictate it if there's any white spaces. Many technology development opportunities are buried at the inception stage due to perceived development risk among startup companies. De-risking via grants is frequently inaccessible at this stage, except for very few and limited opportunities across Alberta. Does NGIF anticipate expanding their grant coverage all the way down to TRL3 to enable access to funds that would help de-risk and enable startup projects at the development stage?
Under the current Methane Reduction Demonstration Program, the eligibility is to be at TRL7 with some exception for TRL6. And that's how it's been developed. In the future, yes, we might be able to look at lower TRLs, but for now, the eligible projects need to be within TRL 7 to 9.
Will you consider methane measurement technologies that provide reasonable mapping and tracking, or local pad or site level leak type measurements?
So we would be considering technology that can be directed towards natural gas operations. Now, ultimately, we want to see those to be deployed by the oil and gas operators in Alberta. So if your technology is pointed towards oil and gas operations and could be a value for them, would be suitable under this particular program.
Thank you, Akhil. Can you comment on how you would pair our technology with your industry member panel?
Sorry, come again, Myron.
I think this question is centered around how we would pair a technology to one of our industry member sites for de-risking.
We would be getting into those conversations at a due diligence stage, which is a stage 2. As I mentioned earlier in the conversation, NGIF has 10 industry operators as part of its membership, and 4 of them are upstream operators. So NGIF in stage 2 of the due diligence will initiate those conversations with the energy operators and try to see which operator would be a best fit for a particular technology based on various factors, including what as a technology developer you want to see, and what conditions you want to see this technology to be deployed and tested. So what you will probably see if you are shortlisted in stage 2, very specific kind of ask in the application about just kind of gathering information on what do you need to be tested at a particular operating site. So we would ask you for some of those needs from you, including any utilities you need, any specific conditions you would need. And we would take that and then start those conversations internally. At an appropriate point in the evaluation process, we'll bring the applicant also in conversations directly and facilitate those kind of arrangements. So a lot more to come maybe in stage 2 of our evaluation process. In stage 1, we do want to maybe get a very high level inputs on what do you like to see and where do you like to see this being tested? Like what are those conditions you would like to see this being tested?
Thank you, Akhil. Well answered. Next question. If I apply for cohort 1 and I de-risk my technology from 7 to 8, can I say apply for cohort 2 to de-risk my technology from TRL 8 to 9? Will this also be applicable for the ERA program?
One of the key objective of, let's say, Methane Reduction Demonstration Program is to that over time we want to see technologies ready and then naturally going into the funnel at ERA. So that's one of the objectives. So you're right. That's success looks like for us, and would be okay to do that actually. Now, can you apply from TL 7 to 8 and then 8 to 9? Depends what kind of, let's say, project it is and how you are de-risking it. If there is if there is a reasonable sense there to do that, then that would be eligible.
Thank you, Akhil. I think this question may have already been answered or a similar question already answered, but I'm still going to dictate it out. What level of technical readiness and field preparedness is most important before entering a program like NGIF's?
Yeah, I think we answered this one.
Okay. I think that's all the questions I currently have. If anyone has any pending questions, feel free to use the raise hand feature at Teams or put them in the chat box. I see Michael unmuted himself.
Okay. No questions here. Sorry, I just unmuted myself.
All good. Thank you for confirming. Right, last call for questions before we wrap up.
If anyone of you have any further questions, please feel free to drop us an email and we could we can set up a separate time to discuss and guide you with the appropriate response.
Right. Thank you, Akil. Thanks everyone for taking the time to join us here today. Happy New Year, and I'll see you in the next one.